Doodlebud. This is the latest addition to the whole Majohn Vanishing Point series they did. The first pen they did was the A1, which looks just like a Pilot Vanishing Point. Then they did the A2. I don't have an A1 handy, but this is the A2, so it's a plastic body, faceted. This kind of looks like the vintage ones. And now this is their latest one, the A3. The special thing with this one is it has this mechanism, which is just like off the Pilot Vanishing Point LS. So it's a bit of a different mechanism. You click it like so, you can see the button turns, and you release it like this to give a little bit of a different experience. You don't have the clicky click sound. So if you like the whole Vanishing Point clicky pen, but don't like the sound, this is the LS, so it's the quiet version. And you just do that. It's very silent. So if you like your Vanishing Point style pen, but the clicking you think is too much, this could be for you. So let's get into it. I have a bit of a different setup, so the lighting isn't as good. I'm still finishing my move. I don't have my home office set up, so I'm doing this at my regular office. I apologize on the lighting and whatnot. But this was sent to me by 365 Day Stationery from Aliexpress, and it's got that Stormtrooper color. They have a few different options and color combinations, but it's all sort of around black and white. But I thought this looked kind of the slickest, like the Stormtrooper. As you can see, they styled it up a little bit here. If we can get a focus on it, is the Majohn. A very interesting design touch. They haven't done that before. Contrast will be tricky because of the matte black, but you can see the parts. We've got some ridges on the mechanism. We still have your standard clicker. And yeah, it's not too bad. It's reasonably smooth. Like when it clicks in place, there's a nice little sort of detent to it, and if you try to click it, it won't undo. You just give it a light little tap. I don't own one, but I think the first or second Vancouver Pen Club meeting I went to, someone had the Vanishing Point LS, and it was a very, very nice smooth mechanism. This is nowhere near that, but this is also nowhere near the price. I just looked up online now, so from like major US retailers, a Pilot LS goes for $670. That's the sale price. The MSRP is like $840. So $670. If you buy overseas from a Japan supplier, you're about $310, and this one rings in right at about $30 US. So again, 1/10 the price for the Japanese price. The US pricing is just insane on those. Like that is an insane markup. Honestly, it is. But it's not too bad. I will have a few comments on Majohn's, what they're doing with these Vanishing Point style pens. I think there's something they need to address first, but I'll save that for later on, and let's get into it. Here is the A2 for a quick size comparison. You can see this. I know the A2 is a little more thinner than the A1, but this is significantly thicker than the A1. This is the Asvine P126 that I just recorded, so you can see body diameter. It's a lot more. I'll get you physical dimensions here in just a minute. One thing that was interesting with this, so the standard LS has the normal style clip that Pilot does. It's, down here near the grip. Now the smart thing with Majohn, yes, I know their very first one looked identical to a Pilot Vanishing Point, but they came out with a version that doesn't have the clip. It has the roll stop on the back. So for those who didn't like the clip, you had an option. That was kind of smart. This whole clip design is completely different and unique as well. Like it looks like you could you can't take it off. I saved that because I didn't want to scratch the pen, so we did it on the video. If you like clipless, you can still do that. There's a little notch here that aligns everything, which is smart. You got the clip here on the back that acts as a roll stop, so if you like it bare, you can do that. But here we go, we got the clip as well, so it slides on up there. But it's kind of nice because now this doesn't get in the way. So the position that they did on this, it's actually really smart. I like how they're coming up with their own versions, own iterations of very popular pens. So now this is sort of best of both worlds. You have a clip for those who like a clip, but it's not in the way for those who find that it does get in the way. I will say the clip is pretty stiff, like stiffer than I think it should be. It has to do with the band radius and how this is. But it is a pretty stiff clip. It's there for those who like it. This would not go into a shirt pocket easily. And for the person who will comment that say, I think the clip's on the wrong end, it should be up here. Well, if it's up here, that means you know, and the clip would be this way. I have people say that, like here on these, they go, oh, you know, so the clip's the wrong way, it should be here. Well, if you put the pen, either this one or this one, in your pocket, nib down, guess what's going to happen to your shirt pocket? So the clip has to be facing up. So that way it's nib up. But you can see if you go into a shirt pocket, you're going to have this much pen sticking out. So this, and again, it's too stiff for it anyway, so it's not much of a shirt pocket clip, but good to act as a roll stop, clip on a notebook or something like that. But also the big thing, it's out of the way of the fingers. It comes apart just like the standard deal, comes off, and of course they still haven't updated the spring. So when you put that in there, it sits above the notch. It's almost like a touch deeper, but they still haven't bothered doing that. Maybe I will eventually source the spring, but it's the standard nib unit that this takes. It comes with 2 blank cartridges for you to fill with the little cap that goes on top, or their converter style. I'm not going to take that out because I have ink in it right now and it goes in place. But that is one thing. They're doing all of this. I'm still surprised they haven't changed the spring, but it goes in there nonetheless. Screw it down and away you go. And away you go and write. Aha! There we go. Did it on camera. Let me show you. So this is one thing with the clicker. Depending how you do it, like it really has to go all the way down for it to engage. If you just give it a quick click like this, it pops up. Versus here, you can go from any angle and you can get it. So it engages like higher up in the travel. Like here, I can feel it now. It's just going to click. As soon as you get past that point, it's going to stay. With this one, it's pretty much right at the bottom of the travel. Even here, it still undoes. Like it's really all the way. It just still won't engage. Like it's a final, like look how much that has to get compressed. If you don't compress it that much, it there it goes there. So it is literally a millimeter or 2 above the bottom, and or else it won't catch. So that is one thing with the mechanism in here. I mean, it's not as smooth and nice as the Pilot LS, but you do have to really make sure to give it up. You kind of have to use the end of your thumb to fully click it. If you're just casually doing that like you're used to, it's not going to catch. So that's one thing. If they could make an adjustment, I would say that would be the one. Quick size comparison before I give you physical dimensions. Here we have a Kaweco Perkeo. We have the Asvine V126. Of course, the Majohn A3, the Majohn A2, and then a Jinhao X159. The overall length of the pen, it's just a little bit more than the A2, as you can see. So this comes in at 144 millimeters. Another thing, you can see the button. So the button on the LS is a little bit thinner than this. Is the same button used on the A1 as well, probably just to do with constraints and dimensions, whatnot. They had to go a little bit thinner. The dimensions, though, as far as the width of the pen, this is significantly thicker. We got 13.2 on the cheap calipers, which is quite a bit more girth to it than the standard A1s and A2s. So if that's one thing you didn't like about those pens and you want a thicker one, well, this is definitely for you. Now, I will say they do use the same nib. If I can extend it, there we go. But now I find, because we are a lot thicker in the body, the nib just seems almost a little too small now, just from an aesthetic standpoint. Here's the A2, so you can see that the smaller nib sort of goes with the smaller body. But this is quite a bit thicker now, and it almost just seems, it doesn't quite fit, you know, from an aesthetics perspective. And I just noticed I put the clip back on backwards. The clip should be this way, so you can see there, oh, the lighting will not show it, but there's a little notch in there. You might be able to just make that out, but there's a little notch right there that lines up with the body. So you just slide it over top, the clip will go over, and then shunk, it just goes in, and now you're aligned. I'm going to do the writing sample next. Before I do that, a couple comments I've noticed with the A3 versus my A2 or my A1. Now this one was in my bag. Sometimes I'll test a pen just as a knock around, kick around pen. So I've had this in my carry bag that takes keys and other things and bashes it up just to see if you want a nice chuck it about pen, how is it holding up? It's been holding up great. And actually this pen was inked, left inked, not used for at least 2 months. Clicked it and it wrote right away. So I've been actually pretty happy with the A1 and A2s as far as nib dry out. I have seen in the comments some people saying that theirs dry out pretty quick. So but most people in general, it seems to work pretty well. Now it could be happening that this is one of those pens, or it could be from the new design that the sealing isn't as good. But this one I do find it does dry out quicker. Sometimes it needs a day or a couple days, and it will hard start a bit. I do a few lines, and then it will get going after I draw maybe 5 or 10 lines or so. It's working now, obviously, because I was using it here just before I shot the review to make sure everything's good. But nib dry out has been quicker on, much quicker on this particular pen. Again, don't know if it's an individual pen issue or something to do with the design. And speaking of design, so it's really cool they came out with this and the pricing and all that stuff. Before they go any further, I think they should have done this before they released this pen. You're going to see in the writing sample, they all write the same because there is only one nib option. Whether you get the A1, the A2, or now the new A3, I hope you like extra fine nibs because that is the only nib option they have. I really think if they're going to do any, like they got now 3 versions of this, all sorts of colors, roll stop, no or clip. These faceted bodies, they have a really cool one. My favorite one is the A1 with the fish scale body in flat black. I actually like it more than my proper Pilot Vanishing Point. I love that pen. It's working great. For me, the nibs have been reasonably smooth. I have one of them that's a bit scratchy, needs a little alignment. I am going to grind one of them too, just for fun. But I really think they need to expand the nib offerings. Don't do an A4. Just stop and do something about your nib options. Obviously it takes a bit because you got to change what you're doing with the tipping and whatnot, but that would be the first thing I would suggest they do because they are built pretty well. I find the A1 and A2 are better than the A3 as far as build and just working. If they could fix that, then I would really enjoy it a lot more. But you need to have fines, mediums at the very least, because a lot of folks go, I would love to get one of these. The price is amazing, but they only come in extra fine, and a lot of people are not buying these because it only comes in extra fine. So if they're going to spend any more money on this whole lineup of retractable nibs, they got to expand their nib options as far as sizing goes. And then you can do other stuff. You can do so many things once you get that done, whether it's vanishing point style or rotating ones. You can really expand it and have that as your core nib component across a whole range of products. But you got to expand the nib point size offering first and foremost. Enough of that, let's start writing. For an extra fine nib, I actually find it's quite smooth. Like compared with other extra fine nibs I have, it's quite nice and fairly enjoyable as well. If you want to know a little more about this Muji paper, I left a post on my Instagram. Check that out. This is probably my favorite Muji paper, and it's great for those really small writers and printers that are out there. So overall, the writing experience is nice. For an extra fine, it's smooth, but I really find they need to expand the nib offerings, as I mentioned. The clicker, that could be tweaked, and then for whatever reason, actually maybe what I'll do an update. I'll swap out nib units. That's probably, I should have done that before, I just thought of it now. I'll swap out the nib unit from this pen, I'll put it into this one. Maybe it's on the channel here on Instagram, but I'll let you know how nib dry out has been, because sometimes it can just be an actual individual nib issue, and I'll report back if it's something to do with the design or if this was just a bit of a one-off and this nib likes to dry out quicker than others. So I do think the A3 looks pretty cool, especially with these Stormtrooper type colors. I'm not so sure if I like this signature on the side. It kind of doesn't suit it very well, but whatever, that's their choice. It is heavier. I'll flash the mass of it here on the screen. I still haven't found my scale. By the time I post this, I will have found it, and I'll put the weight on the screen. So yeah, if you like your vanishing points and have thought about an LS and you want to try it before you buy, or just want to try something new, definitely give this one a thought. But I think it could use a little bit more refinement compared to these ones, which have been just almost flawless really for me out of the box, every one of them. But there we go, we'll leave it there for now. Check out the 365-day stationery link down below, whether it's for this pen or some of their other offerings as well. I know there's lots of places that sell on Aliexpress. Some of them are great. Some of them I've had issues when it comes to paying for things and they don't arrive or just delays. all the stuff I've gotten from them, whether I paid for it or they've sent it to me, it has arrived in a reasonably quick time, and I got exactly what I ordered, which is really, really nice as well. So thanks again to them for sending me this one to review. Got some more videos coming up. Info in the description. Likes, comments, subscribe. Catch you next time.